switch it on. All right, everybody. Just want to let everybody know we're about to get started with presentations. Feel free to make your way over there when you're comfortable. Just wanted to let everybody know we're about to get started with presentations. Feel free to make your way over there when you're comfortable, and we'll get started. Cool. How's it going? Just want to let you guys know we're about ready to get started with the presentations. So.
He messaged me a couple times on LinkedIn, but he never seemed to perform all those sorts of things. Caleb, I think was his name.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. We had a. We're doing that all the way, so as well. I don't know.
That's right. I always do something. So you can help big tech. Yeah. It takes you a day. It takes you an hour, fine, but those days you don't understand basic tech.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sending that off. It's pretty awesome. So if there's anyone else that's willing to look for mentorship, just send them your way.
Yeah. Yeah, send us a big other meeting, they can do QR code like that or something. You have to look at it.
Okay.
At some point I'll do a presentation. All the presentations stream?
We stream them. We stream them and then we like cut them to like separate. But we are ready to get started. So if you guys want to make your way over, grab a seat. We're about ready to get started with some presentations. Feel free to make your way over to grab a seat. Cool. What's up? You're welcome. Cool. Yeah. I think we got plenty of seats, so just want to let you guys know we're going to do presentations. If you guys want to grab a seat, you can. Get over there. Cool. You guys want to grab a seat? Absolutely. Whenever you're ready, come. The only thing is be careful with these plugs and this thing can get finicky. All right. think we're ready to get started. Thank you everyone for coming. This is quite a turnout. So I want to say appreciate you guys for showing up for our first event of 2025. Give you guys a little round of applause for being such an awesome community and making this event possible. So welcome to DevX. For those of you who are new, I got a few slides for you to kind of introduce what we're all about. And for those of you who aren't new, we got a little bit of a new design for 2025. So feel free to enjoy that. So yeah, we are DevX, hosted by Edge, this wonderful space. A little bit on Edge later. But about us, we're a community of like-minded developers and software engineers in San Diego. Our goal is to bring people together to learn from each other, regardless of skill level, and to create a great developer experience. One of the hard things about being a developer is your job is really like heads down and on a computer. You don't get a chance to really like connect with other developers. So we hope to solve that. That's our aim. A little bit about our organizers. Shout out to our organizers for putting this event together. We got AJ Cadwell, Tristan Perry, myself, Sam Holmes, hello, and Zane Prunella, which he was here earlier, but he had to take off unfortunately for some personal reasons. I think he's having fun, so that's a good thing. Not that we aren't. All right, about Edge. Big shout out to Edge. I want to give a quick round of applause for Edge for hosting this space. Edge has always been really big about community, and quick disclaimer, I work at Edge, so if you have any questions about them, feel free to rattle my ear off. But a quick summary, Edge is a wallet and exchange platform for easy security and privacy. They really focus on self-custody, as well as giving you all the features that you would be used to on a crypto app, which is like exchange, trade, swap, sending, all that good stuff, as well as DeFi. So for those of you who aren't familiar about crypto as well, you can come to me, I can tell you more about it. Another big point to make about Edge is they're 100% open source. I say 100% loosely because there's some more proprietary, more security things on our server and that we probably don't want to share. But otherwise, you can see all what we communicate outside of the app itself. You check us out at github.com/edgeapp. We support iOS, Android, and hopefully soon some desktop. But yeah, check us out at edge.app. For those of you who don't know how to connect to the Wi-Fi for this facilities, it's Edge Guest is the main Wi-Fi, and the password is I like big bits, all lowercase. So feel free to connect. Restrooms, they're going to be down the hall when you exit on the left, and there shouldn't be a passcode, but if there is, it's 1595. This is the first event of 2025, and we have scheduled out a series of events roughly every month for the whole year. So check us out at Luma. All of our calendar at Luma. We got lu.ma. I think that's old. DEVxSD. If not DEVxSD, DEVx Network. Yeah, I got to update that. But yeah, check us out. We got a bunch of events scheduled for you. So if this is your first time, you really like it, and you want to come back, feel free to check us out. And the next event is in February. I think February 2nd. As well, somewhat new for those of you that are common goers to DevX, we have a LinkedIn company page. So feel free to follow us on our LinkedIn. This really helps the community out because we really want to expand the community beyond what we do here as far as providing a space for developers to grow, but also an opportunity for you all to connect to industry and things like that. So we really want to build this up. Feel free to check us out at that link down here and follow us. All right. A little bit about our agenda. You guys already had some networking lunch. So I hope you guys enjoyed the pizza and drinks and you're all fueled up for the presentations. We got started a little bit late, but after the presentations are done, we got some good speakers, by the way, for you. Get some good material. After that, we do a little community announcement. And then after all that's said and done, we go back to hanging out, coding, and networking. So same as kind of like what we were doing earlier. And then we end roughly around 4. It's kind of like a soft/hard stop. All right, a little bit about our speakers.
First, we'll have AJ Cadwell talking about state machines. A little mysterious. That's all he gave us. So that's going to be great. I really like the idea of state machines, and I want to see more about that. Second, we'll have Tristan Perry, another community organizer, as well as AJ, talking about Windmill, which I have no idea about, but he describes it as the last low-code solution you'll ever need, which sounds exciting. And I think it will be pretty cool. And then finally, we have a newcomer, Adam. I'm going to probably botch his last name, so I'll just say Adam. Sorry. But he'll be talking about personalized chatbots with LLMs and RAG, building those. We have to have an AI talk, every probably month. So thank you so much, Adam, for sort of squeezing that in for us. But yeah, these are our speakers. So without further ado, let's welcome AJ Cadwell up to the stage to talk about state machines.
Boom.
Ooh.
There we go.
Let's go, AJ.
Good. Okay. We already got our awkwardness out of the way. So everything's gonna go perfect from now on. Hold the shift key. Press the key once, don't hold it down. Oh. Right shift. Did I do it? Is this good? Wait. Press the key immediately to the right of the shift key on the left side of the keyboard. Okay, so Z. Okay, well, that's okay. Everything's fine.
Oh, this is
I don't need that.
Okay. Boom.
Oh yeah. Is that gonna work for me? Is it gonna work out? Oh yeah. Okay. We're good. Is it big enough? Can you guys see that? I got a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. It's Monday morning, 8:55 a.m. I'm still coming off a binge of watching Apple's Severance. Utterly unnerved by, thank you, Tramell Truman portraying the character Milchek as a dystopian middle manager with kind eyes. I settle into Bird Rock Coffee, latte in hand, open up Slack before stand-up, and what is this do I see? 49 messages in the Red Alert channel, several ad mentions, and a new ticket opened with me as the assignee. No sweat, we can handle this, bugs happen. And then I see it, the stack trace. It's that function, again. The cluster of branching callbacks and complexity capable of souring a perfectly fine morning. Hello? Oh, did it not? Cool. That's okay. I'm AJ, a DevX organizer around here, and welcome. If it's your first time or we haven't met, glad you're here. And also, if we have met and it's not your first time. Here's our roadmap. We're going to do some goals, a definition of state machines, how we can use, or general use cases for state machines, some examples, and finally, a demo. So goals. Well, it's not even doing my slide stuff. Dang it, that's okay. I know what to do. I don't know what to do, actually. Well, just imagine there's more text there It's because it's on my screen. So. Whoa. The goals are to add finite state machines to our proverbial tool sheds, try out some new tech, and have a good time. Definition. Nah, still not working. You could define a finite state machine as a set of states and a set of transitions between those states. That's our abstract definition, but we're going to do some examples right now. First example, a switch. Could I have a volunteer from the audience? Go ahead, you beautiful gentleman. Here's this. You can see the button, and when I tell you, press the button. Press it.
You know?
Yeah. There you go. We just toggled from off to on, and go ahead and press one more time. Oh, I guess it gets brighter. Shoot. Thank you, my lovely assistant. You just saw it go from on to off now. And that was?
A finite state machine.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone give a hand. Oh, what a wonderful man. Example 2. More abstract. I don't have a traffic light with me, but you can find them outside. Starts at green, change transition to yellow, change transition to red, and go back to green again. Something we see every day. And yeah, that was great. Abstractness. Anyways, can I have another volunteer? Buddy in the back, come on, come on. Give him another hand. Here is a drill. You're just it's not loaded, don't worry. Here's our next example. Notice a few things. It has a couple states. It's one of those cool drills where there's like a lock state, and then you press this little thing on the side, and it becomes, you go ahead and do it, yeah. And now we're in clockwise mode, I think. It depends on what, direction you're facing. And then go ahead and press it back this way. You did it twice, and that's good. One more time.
Wait.
Other way.
What?
Did it turn off? Anyways, here is the state of that drill and its transitions represented in a diagram. So. Go ahead and press left. The thing in the middle. Oh, yes, you're already on.
Yeah, we're on this one.
Oh, good. It's hard to tell from
Yes.
this direction. Go ahead and pull the trigger. And now we're in drilling state, probably clockwise. And then you released it, and we entered back into just like a ready state. Now go ahead and press it so it's locked. And there we are. We're in the lock state. And so, a little more abstract, a little more fun. Thank you, Tristan. Yay. Couple of notes before we move on. Notice that when it's in the drilling state and you pull the trigger, there's a light. You might say that is a side effect. Upon entering the drilling state, the light turns on. Upon exiting the drilling state, the computer turns off. Let me just fix it, I know it's me. I know. Caffeinate, and we're good. Yeah, so there's a side effect upon entering the drilling state. And under certain conditions, so you put a drill bit here and hook it up to that sounds so weird, touch a screw to the drill bit. As you can tell, I am a handyman. Yeah, touch a screw to the drill bit, turn it, and another side effect would be maybe you get shelves on your wall. Yeah, you could say those are both examples of side effects to transitions. Okay, final example. Oh, did it not even? There we go. This is a little bit something we can actually use in our careers. Magic link authentication. You know when you sign into a website and it's like, check your email for the code, and you go back and enter the code. Has anyone done this? Good, lots of nods. We're gonna go through this diagram, I guess. Sure, type in your email, and then you finish typing, then you click the send email button. We transition to the sending email state where there's like a loading thing. And then depending on the success or failure of that, we either go back to entering the email saying you had typed in your email wrong probably, or we go forward to enter the code now in your email. If you successfully enter the code, or you paste in the code or whatever, and then you see a button and it's like verify code, and you click verify, then we'll go to the verifying code state, another little loading thing. And again, if you fail, you go back. And if you succeed, you get to the completion state. Notice how you can't really get back out, because why would you? You're already logged in. So that was the overview of our state machine. And now we will go to the code. Get ready. Like this? Does that work? Oh, good. Yeah, that's great. That looks amazing. I'm just kind of zoom in. No? Am I? Do I know how to use a computer? I don't know. Ah, there we go. That's beautiful. So this is a representation of the diagram we just saw. There's the states. Oh, states are here. Entering email, sending email, entering code, and so on. There's the transitions or events. And there's one special event that takes an argument. We're going to get to that. And then we pass it into a class that will be our state machine. Here are the states at the top. And you can also see again the transitions between the states right here. Ta-da! And completes empty, just like the diagram. Okay, and now I will change the way the screen mirroring works so I cannot turn my head again. Stop extending. Choose content. Ooh, entire screen, perfect. Start mirroring. I narrate this because it helps me. There's my code. Okay. So, first step, we have our outline from our diagram, and now we shall create a little bit of state that we're going to use in the side effects. First one is email, which is going to be a string, empty string first. Second one is going to be error, in case there's some errors. Give it a type of error or undefined. And third one is code, which the user will enter after they get their code in the email. Okay, some 3 items of state outside our state machine. And now we're going to use those side effects that we mentioned earlier with the drill-in. So send email. Upon entering the sending email state, we will do a side effect where we kick off a request to send email, send authorize, send magic code. There we go. To said email. And then, if we succeed, we're gonna tell our machine, hey guys, we succeeded. Success. However, if we fail, oh wait, is it not? Oh, it's email. There we go. Okay. If we succeed, we'll send a success transition, and then if we fail, we'll go to the error state. Send, oh wait, machine.send fail. I think fail is a pretty good word for failing. You could use error too. There we go, types work out. So first step, we enter the sending email state, and as a side effect, we kick off the send magic code authentication thing. And then we shall start doing the UI, actually. The UI should be, we'll need an input for the email. So type email, and then we're going to bind that value to the email. And we're only going to show it if the machine state is equal to enter an email. And if. And then we're going to add a button to send it. Get ready. Send email. Oh. What? Anyways. And this is our failure state. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I get to this state often. And you know what? I think you guys get it. Let's just go directly to the, the post-turkey state. Like you guys watch baking shows where like putting all the ingredients and then you get all ready to put in the oven, and then suddenly they're like, and I have this other turkey that I already cooked. So we're gonna do that right now. So let's go back from smoke and mirrors to master. Whatever. I want to save it. Git commit whip. You guys do this? You whip out commits? Work in progress? Okay, let's try this again. Oh, that's my slides. I need to start the server again, and then copy that link, and then open up our window, localhost. There it is. There's our big turkey. So you enter your email, send the code, check your mail, copy the code, paste the code. We're logged in. And you can see all that code in 1 second if you wish. It'll be in GitHub later. But the finished product looks like this. And as you can see, there's error handling in the fail event. Same thing we already wrote. And when we enter the verifying code state, we kick off a sign in with magic code request. And here's the UI, which you already saw. Anyways, that was my TED Talk. Sorry, 1 second. I need to thank people. Like you have that thing at the end where you thank the people you copied. You know what I'm saying. There we go. So Svelte, FSM, and Talk by Ken Kunz, Ruined by Huntabyte, and Electricity by SD January. Thank you.
All right. Check. All right. Great talk. Awesome job. We have time for some questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Does anyone have any questions for AJ in his talk? In the back. Sure.
So the idea for the state machine is like, if your state becomes so complex, you can't keep your business logic and a few conditional ifs and stuff, you should bust it out into a larger diagram like you did, and then implement the machine pattern. So I was just curious, is this kind of like XState and other libraries where they have complex state management, and is that the kind of situation where you would use this pattern? Thanks.
Oh, did you mute it? Switch the switch on the.
Is it the switch?
I know it's my first day, but still.
Ezekiel, you're a treasure. I'm sorry for doubting you. Speaker state. Bro. Yeah, XState is designed for definitely more complex use cases than that form component right there. But yeah, I think you had a really good summary. When you have a bunch of complex logic and you're like, I don't like this, then maybe a state machine could be your go-to. Good summary. Bro.
All right. Any other questions? Looks like we got one over here.
So for the side effects, is there any way to handle, like, let's say you had a side effect where, like, yeah, you're going from entering a code to sending the from requesting to get an email code to getting an email code. That state, there's a potential to like timeout if the user is not having internet. Are side effects, like, are you able to have timeout logic or like make them basically asynchronous?
Yeah. I mean, wasn't that, sorry, when we did enter that effect and then we kicked off that communication with InstantDB, there was like a catch error clause. So, takes time and could fail.
I guess my question was like, well, so the way you implemented on the UI was like you literally have a state that's like the entire state goes away, and then you can't interact, you can't change a state while it's pending state. But if there was like a more complex UI, like an actual login form where it's like maybe the cancel button's disabled, like you can code that in, I guess. But sometimes it's like can be confusing where if you're waiting on asynchronous state and then the user can see a button that can then try to change the state again, you're having like complex flows. So I guess it was just more of an idea of like, I don't know how you would handle that.
I would maybe make it the button that you're talking about disabled if it's not a certain state, I guess. Yeah, I guess I would change the disabled attribute on the button if it does not match or matches certain states. That was a good answer.
All right. I think we have time for probably one more question. Okay, and then I will take that time because I had one question. How do you distinguish in your graph if you're starting with your model of your state machine? How do you determine what would more appropriately be a side effect versus what will be the state from a transition? I guess does that make sense? Like if you think about you're moving a transition from one state to another, A to B, how do you know that B holds your state versus creating a side effect in that transition, which inevitably ends up in a state B? Does that make sense?
I think so. I think I found that you just kind of do intuition. That was my experience.
Do what works. Okay, gotcha. Cool. Well, let's thank AJ for his talk. Appreciate the talk. And then next we have Tristan. Feel free to come up. He'll be talking about a program app, not quite sure, called Windmill. And I believe it's a low code, or is it no code? Low code. A low code app. Feel free to welcome Tristan to the stage.
All right. Okay, cool. You guys can hear me. First of all, thank you. Can we get one more round of applause for AJ? That was a very, very good talk. I'm surprised they let comedians in here. I thought it was just software engineers, but. All right, cool. Quick show of hands. How many of you guys have heard of or used Zapier? So a few. Okay, cool. Zapier, for those of you who don't know, is a very simple solution for basically writing low-code automations or no-code automations where you're connecting services together without writing any code. So it's really great for like marketing departments or just general people in the company that want to contribute a bit more. Today I'm talking about Windmill. Has anyone here heard of Windmill before? Cool. That's my friend. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Windmill is basically something I found within the last month, having had issues with a platform called Make, which is just like Zapier, but just cheaper. And so in my search of trying a bunch of different platforms, I found that windmill.dev felt like it was the last low-code solution I would ever need. This is my simple talk about it. Some background about me. My name's Tristan. I'm a co-host here. I am a software engineer and consultant. I do all kinds of work. I do a lot of like freelance Shopify work. I work on front ends, like websites, landing pages, back end using WebSockets, databases, just kind of a jack of all trades kind of person. So yeah, oh, that title is incorrect from a previous talk. Okay, so just ignore that. So essentially, like, what is a low-code solution? Well, you have Zapier on the left. You have Make, which is the one I've used. You got Naten. That's another one that's also open source, so you could self-host it. And then HubSpot, it's more of a CRM, but you can do a lot of automations with it. And so a lot of platforms have like automation tools built in, which are really cool. It really enables a lot more productivity. But one of the downsides is that when you're using a platform like HubSpot, not only is it expensive, but you also are locked to what they actually add. So you're basically, if you want to do custom stuff, you're completely bottlenecked by the actual company, and they're a huge company, which adds security, but it can get in your way sometimes. Okay, cool. So let's just go ahead and get started. So we'll just look at the just their landing page just a little bit, just to get an idea. One thing that's really cool is they're open source. So it's an entire self-hostable stack for building your own kind of low-code solutions. And the cool thing is that it allows you to, as they say in the title, turn scripts into auto-generated UIs, APIs, and cron jobs. So basically, what's really cool about this is that if you're a software engineer like me, like Zapier is great because I can just write the automation, have it run on the server, and I don't have to worry about it. Unless my code has an error, there's never going to be an error. Whereas with something like this allows me to write my own scripts in basically whatever language, like Node.js, so like TypeScript, even Python, and some other stuff to write my own business logic, and then I'm building flows using those individual scripts. So I could have a very simple script, which is just a function that's like fetch a specific user from a database, and then I could have a mutation function, and then I could do like whatever I want by connecting them in any way. They're also backed by YC, so that's like a big reason why I trust them. They have a really good demo video that if you want to learn more, I would check that out. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and get in. So this is their current platform. I'll zoom in for you guys. This is their cloud platform that they have, so you can just log in. They give you like 10,000 free runs a month. I self-host it as well, so it's totally self-hostable. It's really easy, actually. So there's a lot of things here. Like you're looking at this, and it takes a little bit to getting used to, but you can basically create scripts, or you can create flows that then connect those individual scripts. So think of a script as like, if you're like in coding, you're just having like a single function. So it's just your main function. So I have all these other scripts that I wrote that I'm gonna elaborate on to build something pretty cool. So like I said, I do a lot of freelancing work, and my current flow for like the way I bill some of my clients is they'll give me a bunch of random tasks. Some of them will take an hour, some of them will take 10. And so I'll manually have an hour tracker on my phone that I'll write in each task name, how many hours I worked, the hours or the billing rate. And then at the end of every month, like usually the first Monday of every month, I'll copy one by one every task I did into a Stripe invoice, and then send the invoice out to them, and Stripe handles the calculations, payments, and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. But sometimes I'll spend like an hour on just building one invoice for one client. And I only have like one main client that I do this flow for, but if I had more, it would just be like 2-3 hours just manually copying stuff when I already have all the data in the first place. So recently I migrated to this other platform called NocoDB, which, has anyone heard of Airtable here? Beautiful. Airtable is so good. I just use NocoDB because it's just self-hostable as well. Airtable is closed source. But basically, for those of you that don't know, it's basically a spreadsheet as a service. So I have a spreadsheet here that really is just an actual table in a database. And then I have custom columns. So for example, like I have a task here, which is update footer to 2025 for my Airbnb client. I actually don't work with Airbnb. I mean, that'd be pretty cool, but yeah, they said that their footer is super outdated and their investors have lost all faith, which I'm blocked on actually. But I'm charging them 3 hours at $30 an hour, and then I have other tasks like resolve email availability or deliverability, excuse me, and I have different rates for different tasks. And you'll notice that some of them have different statuses. Like if you're on Asana, you might have some that are not started yet. You have some that are in progress, some that are obviously done, and then some that are blocked on. But what it'd be cool to do is if I wrote a script, something that's like on the first Monday of every month, which is what I'm already doing, go through my task list, get all the tasks that are marked as done, and then calculate, basically each task becomes a line item in a Stripe invoice, take the hourly rate, make that the quantity, the hours, make that the quantity, and make the hourly rate the actual item price. So basically just calculate, just turn this into an invoice. So I currently have no invoices. This is my Stripe, but test mode. I have one customer in here that I manually added. It is myself, with my name John Doe. So yeah, so let's go ahead and start by creating a script. So I already have a couple scripts because I already tested this flow. I have one script that's just, let's see, where would it start? Get Stripe customer by email. So this is a script that I wrote, and I can go ahead and click edit. And this is the entire script. All this does is literally say, hey, what's an email? And what is a Stripe connection that I have, which is just an API key. I could enter any email in here, and it'll just connect to my Stripe. So I can go ahead and try that right now. We know that I'm already in there under this email. So if I click test, it's running the script, and then I get the result, which allows me to copy. And this down here is very smart. If it's a string, it'll allow you to copy as a string. If it's JSON, it'll allow you to copy as like JSON. But yeah, so you just have a lot of really dumb scripts. Like this is nothing, and I could just AI generate this really quickly. So yeah, so the flow starts by like, okay, you know, I already know the table, I know the client's email, so I get the Stripe customer by email, and then I need to create an invoice, and then I need to add a line item for each NocoDB task, and then I need to email myself the result so I can basically look at the Stripe invoice. That'll be a draft because I don't want to just send out AI-generated invoice basically. But nowhere in this did I write a script yet that allows me to read the done tasks from my NocoDB. So we're going to go ahead and write that. So I'm just going to create a new script, and I'm going to skip giving it a name right now because I can use this magic wand AI. It's really cool. I can generate from scratch, and so what do I want the script to do? Well, I am trying to build an invoice auto generator, so I have to interact with Stripe and do all this stuff. But really, I need to just tone down the task and think, okay, this is just a single function. Like literally, what is the minimum thing I need to do right now? Well, all I need to do right now, because the only script I'm missing is getting the actual records from NocoDB, I just need to take the NocoDB table that I'm looking at. I need to get all the records that are done and then just return them as an array. That's all I need to do. So that's what I'm going to tell the AI to do. I'm going to be like, hey, I have a NocoDB connection. I need to read all the records from a specific table, and with the status equal to done. I'm capitalizing these because I already know a little bit how the NocoDB API works. So capture all the records that equal that status, and then return the result. Well, results. Okay, there we go. And the cool thing about this AI is they actually don't offer their own AI. They allow you to bring your own API key. So you could bring OpenAI, you could bring Anthropic API key for Claude, which I recommend because in my experience, Claude is just generally better for programming. So yeah, and it shows a diff. So it's just like in Git, if you're doing a pull request or merging code, this is literally just like a Visual Studio Code editor in your browser. So yeah, so it looks like it's defined a NocoDB resource, all the relevant information we would need. And then it's got our main function, which just takes in one resource, which is the NocoDB table. Then it's fetching from the API, which is here. And then it's just parsing as JSON, returning it. Now here we can see, here's the inputs for our function. So like with the previous one, I took in an email. Well, now all we have is just this resource. So now I can give it a resource. So a resource is basically just some sort of connection to some external service. So I could have a Stripe resource, I could have a HubSpot resource, I could have, in this case, a NocoDB resource. You could even have S3, you can have like literally whatever, and you can build custom ones. So I'm going to go ahead and build my own resource for NocoDB. So it takes 4 variables. It takes an API URL, which is your instance for hosting NocoDB, which in this case I'm just using this. It takes a table, which is the table ID, which is just this, a workspace. And we'll put that there, and then I need to get an actual API token. Okay, feature settings. Oops, that's not what I want. There we go. Okay, we'll copy that same token just to reuse it, paste it in. And so the cool thing is that whoever configured this resource has already said, this is basically not that, like, this can be public, this can be public, this can be public. Public as in plain text, like it's not encrypted. But this token, because it's an API token, should be encrypted. And so it automatically is hidden. And then it's automatically, I can make it inlined, meaning that it's just saved within this resource, but I can also make it a secret, meaning that it's a global environment variable for the entirety of my NocoDB like workspace, which could be useful if, you know, in this case, this is a NocoDB connection for not just NocoDB, but this specific table and workspace that I'm referencing. So once I place this in here, I can reuse this literally anywhere. Even in my scripts, I can import them like they're environment variables. So I click save, and then boom, now it's auto-populating with my NocoDB connection. If I had more connections, I could select from this dropdown. But yeah, so let's actually just go ahead and test if this actually works. No result. So it actually ran, it didn't error, we got no result. And that's because this AI generated incorrect code for me. When doing this, I realized that it was, for some reason, using the V1 API rather than the newest one is V2. So for whatever reason, it was just giving me the wrong code. That's one of the things about this, is that it's a very powerful platform if you get into it and you spend time using it, and it's also if you like already know how to code. So if you're writing the scripts, it's really powerful, but you have to actually know how to think through problems a little bit or learn it as you go and be willing to put up with it, because especially with AI like generating code, it's really good at generating small scripts like this, but sometimes you are going to run into issues where like Zapier will cultivate a very high quality hub of connections that, while limited, are actually high quality. You know it'll work. Whereas with this, you're literally just can do whatever you want. So it's a positive and negative. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just implement using the actual valid API, which is the NocoDB API. Since I don't want to take up too much time, I'm actually just going to copy over the actual code that's correct. And you'll notice it's the exact same type, so AI was correct about that. All it is just a separate, like we're just using V2 and a separate where clause, which is basically a slight version of SQL, just saying status equals done. And then if we run that, now we got our result. And not only, like I said, with the smart result thing, we didn't just get back like text. It literally was smart enough to format it. So it's like, oh, this script returned an array. Cool, well now here's the IDs, here's the name, here's the hours. I could download this as CSV if I wanted. I could copy it as JSON and just click copy right there. Super nice. I could even preview it if I wanted it. So yeah, so that's that script. We're gonna call it fetch done status equals done records from NocoDB. Cool. Now I've saved it as a draft. Now to be able to access it externally, I have to deploy it, which is kind of weird, but you get to do that. And now, yeah, now it's here, and I could run it again. And I could preview the script. Cool. So that is how making a script works. Really quick, since we've already covered a lot, and we're going to cover a bit more. Any questions right now? Any questions? Cool. Tony?
You mentioned a couple of cloud LLM APIs that we use. Can it also be used with a local LLM?
That is a great question. I don't think they have support with that right now. I believe it's a workspace-specific config. Workspace settings, Windmill AI. Yeah, so they have OpenAI, they have Anthropic, and they have Mistral. So I think at some point they will, because that's obviously a big thing, but they don't have support for that right now.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So just to quick clarify, because you said we can create scripts, right? Because it's automation, so each script we create, we can use as a flow together after you create one. So for example, you create a script, right? So technically, can we put this as an element in the flow somewhere, and then create another script in the flow, so technically create our own pipelines?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're going to move on to next.
Oh, okay.
That's a very good question. No, I didn't go to it yet. Yeah, I wanted to focus on the script section because the way I think what makes this platform useful is that, okay, so if you think about it, let's say you're someone who doesn't code, and we'll go over this in a second when we go over the flows, but if you're someone who doesn't code, you can still be very productive by having a tailored set of services or actions that you can then connect. So then you can build business logic. And right now, if you're using something like Zapier, basically the company itself is the gatekeeper, essentially. Whereas if you're on a team where you have a software engineer, they can be writing the scripts, so therefore they could be the ones that are like creating the custom difficult code. Whereas then if you're someone who's more of a low-code kind of person, you can come in and connect everything together. So it's basically making both sides of the team more productive by delegating the tasks effectively. Cool, so we'll go ahead and go into that. So now all our scripts are done. If I go to flows, we have our current flow, which is one I was already working on. It's currently in draft mode. So if I click on it, so we know all the resources we already need. So we need a customer email, who's the customer we're sending this to. We need a NocoDB table to read from. We need a Stripe connection to create the invoice. And then we need a resend connection for just sending an email. It could be anything else. Now, if I enter my email right now, it's not going to work because the flow is missing a chain. So because I haven't added that NocoDB, like I configured this flow and then removed the NocoDB fetch from it, it's not finishing. So what happened is we can see our flow here. We have our initial input. The first step I put was get Stripe customer. Then I click get completed tasks. But there's a gap here. It's going from A to C, so we have to fill that gap. So what it'll do is basically just ran this individual script, and then it was like, cool, we're good, move to the next step. And then something happened later in the flow. Yeah, so let's go ahead and edit that flow so that way we can finish that up and make it work. Cool. So what's the error we're getting? Input row items is connected to a missing module with ID C. So here at this step, we've clicked on this step, and we can see the individual script actually for this step. So this is the one that's like basically for every row item, we're going to calculate the price, and then we're going to add it to a Stripe invoice, and then we'll just return the invoice ID. It takes in a Stripe invoice a Stripe connection. Same thing as here. So Stripe, customer ID, and here I'm plugging in a result from a previous script. So results.a in this case is basically the return of this. So you can see here that, oops. I'll have to run the flow for it to actually work. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and add that. So I have to click on a new method, and there's tons of options. I'm just going to go to my own scripts, and I'm going to look at fetch status equals done records. So now this will run. It's already fetched this. and if it's already got the input because I already have my NocoDB connection globally. So actually, it might even just work like this. If we click Save, and then we click Test Flow, and we put in the customer's email, let's see what happens. Okay, we're going to click Run. Ran into error during isolated results.c. Okay, so we might need to fix up what's happening here. So results.c. So the invoice ID, so this creates a Stripe invoice, that's B, so then results.b, that's the Stripe invoice. Then results.c, we probably actually want it to be F, because this one has the ID of F now. So it was just, because I deleted a module, it was not responding correctly. So now we're rerunning it with the same input. Boom. And this is the, thanks. This is just the result of the final script that ran, which happened to just be sending an API, or sorry, sending an email, which is just, this is the ID of the transaction basically. We could see like the timeline, we can see node status, I don't know what all that is, but yeah, so you could see individually how long each script took. And then you could even collect, like you could see the individual results of each script essentially. So looking here, I can see like a log, for example. This is a log that's in that script. I can see the result here. So you can see some cool stuff. So let's go check my email. It should have gone to my work email, so let's check and see if it's in here. Cool, review Airbnb invoice. Here's your auto-generated invoice for the current month. Invoice, please approve it. Cool, here's our invoice. Emails aren't delivering in the EU correctly. We're migrating to the new Strappy version. So those were 50 hours at $80 an hour. So let's go look. We should have only 2 completed tasks, essentially. Where's our, oh. Cool. Looks like it missed one for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. That's weird. Oh, no, it's right there. It doesn't have a name. Okay. That is weird. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so it actually did work. For some reason, one of them didn't have a name, but it should have been there. But yeah, so that was a very quick, I actually threw this together, like, I was hoping to do this on Saturday, but I didn't have time, so I was like, oh, am I gonna have time to build all this this morning? And it took me an hour to put in all this dummy data, to build the individual scripts, to connect them all together, and then test it. It really only took an hour, which is kind of crazy, because now it's like, okay, this took me an hour once a month. Now all of a sudden I took 1 hour and just built this. This ran in literally a second. Now all of a sudden I've saved myself basically an extra 11 hours this year, or 12 hours a year, which is like actual money. Yes?
So have you self-coded some of these in terms of like making the HTTP or HTTPS requests?
Do you repeat the question too?
Oh no, I heard it, but thanks, yeah.
Repeat it for the stream.
Oh, sorry, could you actually, I forgot the exact question, sorry.
So I was asking that if he had, like, when you take something like Zapier, Make, or any of the IF this, if this then that, like a lot of times it is no code, right? And you're talking about low code, so I'm assuming that you're like making and interpreting some of the like HTTP or HTTPS calls. And like, if so, I guess my main question is like, how do you do the authentication? Like if it's like OAuth and like you have to get the initial token because like you used something predefined, so like we didn't really get to see like, because like once you have the token, obviously you just put it in the call. But like, obviously there's like an interface on the sort of the no-code solutions that's like, well, authenticate this, and then it has it, existing already. I guess I was just wondering how that works with this, and if that's a manual process of generating a token, or if there's like a sort of more automated way to do that, if that makes sense, or a easier way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never personally, I think I've seen in the DevX Discord people ask questions about how to do OAuth stuff with Zapier. So I it looks like, yeah, like that's a thing that people do. I personally have never, in my experience working with any kind of low-code solution, never had to use those types of technologies. I could imagine, like for example, like Google Cloud, sometimes you don't need an API key, you need a JSON file that's like a JSON private key. You could also just place that as a secret. For those kind of custom flows, you might have to, like, they might have some FAQ about it or something like that, or maybe it's something they need to add, but yeah.
Good question. Anyone else have any questions for Tristan? I'll start right here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious about the self-hosting aspect, how easy it was, because you said it was pretty trivial to do. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. And I could even just show you a little bit about what they wanted or what they want you to do to self-host it. So the big thing they recommend do is basically using Docker. I think at some point they say Helm charts and use Kubernetes, but please don't do that. You just save yourself. If you like your life right now, yeah, they have a couple of, I don't know where they are, but I could probably, no. They have a Docker Compose YML in here that, if we find this right here. So they give you a caddy file, which if you don't know caddy, that's basically Nginx. They give you a baseline EMV. So this is the Docker Compose that they give you. So these are for all the services you basically need. So you have a database, which could be an internal database like this or an external database. It's like a Postgres database, which is what I use. You have a windmill server, which I assume is for the front end, like the actual, like for hosting the front end and the APIs and stuff. And you have a windmill worker, which is basically for running the serverless scripts, because each script is its own serverless instance. You have the windmill worker native, which does something else. Windmill workers reports for generating reports. So there's a lot in here. All I really use is the windmill server, the windmill worker, I think the windmill indexer, which is for like capturing all the info of like running scripts, and then LSP for doing the code, like syntax highlighting and all that kind of stuff. It looks like a lot here, and as someone who's like, I'm familiar with self-hosting, but I'm not like, I can't just whip something up without an error. This really did take me like 10 minutes to just copy over, install Docker Compose, and it was good to go.
Cool.
I see there's a set one to enable multiplayer, only available in the Enterprise Edition. Is that self-hostable?
Yeah. Yeah, they have an enterprise-specific license that I believe is like, I think it's like $1,200 a year. No, $1,200 a month. But yeah, it's I would say it's probably worth it if you have a lot of people on your team, of course. Yeah.
Cool. Another question over here. I did see you, so.
Great talk, by the way. Cool. I like the tool what presented because I mean I kind of had some pain with the Zapier and stuff like that, and sometimes it's not. They're great, but they can be expensive, and some things is not really obvious. So we can talk a lot, but to be short, I have one question specifically. What about triggers? So for your automation, because automation like tools, they have specific triggers, and you usually never can really customize them. So can you tell us more about triggers, and can you customize triggers or not?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, because I actually have that in my notes, but I forgot to go over that. Yeah, so there are a lot of custom triggers. So if we go to our flows, and then we probably need to publish this. So we'll click on it. Looks like it's already published.
Just for food, triggers is like whatever action, like it's a start, so whatever start automation just calls a trigger. It's just like two definition for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So no. That's thanks for explaining that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you saw that I manually came in here and triggered it. Then here at the beginning of the flow, you have multiple triggers. So you have your traditional webhook, which is probably a lot of what you'll be doing. You can do basically a schedule, which is essentially just a cron job. So I could just set it up so that way I could just put in like, I could set a primary schedule. I could then edit the cron specifically here. Then you could change your time zone even. And then you could enter in an email. So you could just hard code the values there. Or you could create another flow that basically calls this flow with an array of emails, so just one at a time. Like there's so much stuff you could do. Routes, I think that's just like you can have like a public route that can just, once you hit that route, it's just good. WebSockets, Kafka somehow. I don't know what. Emails. You can send an email to a server and it'll be like, yeah, sure, buddy, whatever you want. I don't know what this is. We don't need to go there. But there's a lot of stuff. And then another one too. Like, so I was in here, but let's say I'm like completely on a different screen. I'm somewhere nowhere. There's an app I use called Raycast that is basically a really good version of Spotlight, but you have extensions you can install. And I realized, I was like, I wonder if someone made a windmill docs extension. Someone actually made an extension, not for the docs, but for interacting with your own windmill instance. So I can come down here to view flows, and then it fetches from, in this case, 2 different instances. So I have a cloud instance, the one that I was demoing on, then I have my actual self-hosted instance. So I could actually filter by instances that I'm connected to. And then, oh, here's my flow that I just created. Oh, here's all my resources. I can just type in the email. And I'll click submit. Boom, job URL, open it up. It opens up on the right instance, and then it failed for some reason. But hey, you know, demos. I didn't make it, so I made the flow, not the, yeah, weird. Oh, it's an old script for some reason. Okay, anyway, that actually will work. I tried it this morning. I just happen to be actually doing it live, which means it won't work, so. Yeah, so that's, okay, I want to go through some notes. I know I'm taking up a lot of time here, but I just want to make sure I'm like, yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that you could do. So what else I would do with this? If I was to keep going with this particular instance, I'd want to maybe actually make it so that way on NocoDB, I can make a webhook that's basically like whenever a specific column changes, so for example, the status or the hours or anything like that, it can auto send a webhook, which could then send it to a flow to basically rebuild the draft invoice all the time, remove all the items and then rebuild them. So that way, as I'm working on with a client and I'm marking tasks off as done or increasing the hours, they're getting real-time updates of the current month. That way, it's just like way more transparency. And there's a couple other ideas I put in here, like just like being able to build flows to automate the creation of or the resolution of like refund tickets. So a customer comes through your process. Okay, well, is your customer support agent like manually going to Stripe or manually going to Shopify, clicking refund? You can start automating that stuff. And then just also one thing I didn't go over is you can actually build UIs using this. So you can literally build apps that interact with your own flows, and people are building like row-based things using databases and putting records, posting records. It's really crazy. Yeah, also, I'm just totally non-humble. I want to, if you work for a company that you think this could be valuable for, or you're just interested in talking to me, even if it's like just for a small like couple questions outside of this, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. My name's Tristan Perry. I'm also willing to do windmill consulting as I continue to learn more and continue to explore this new technology. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. For anyone else that has any more questions, I guess I could take on the sidebar for extra questions so that we have time for the next speaker. But yeah, thanks again, Tristan. Next, we have Adam. He'll be giving us a talk, LLM/AI related. So I guess you could say more automation. Take it away. Thanks, Adam. Everyone, welcome Adam to the stage.
We'll work.
I can sing or you do it. We'll experiment. He said, that's all right. we can talk.
Is it on?
Perfect. There you go.
All right, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Keyboard setup assistant. I'm all right. Okay, before I get started, I'm just doing a personal survey for myself. Raise your hand if you know LLMs. Okay, raise your hand. Oh, keep your hands up. Okay, keep your hands up if you know about RAG. Okay, keep your hands up if you know about embeddings. Keep your hands up if you know how they work. Okay, cool. Then this might be a good talk. Okay, so I did this within the last 12 hours. So let's just give it a go. So my name is Adam Villarreal. That's how you pronounce my last name, or Villarreal. I am a machine learning engineer, and I did this. And my next slide is why I did this. But before I go into that, so I broke it up into 5 sections. I think it'd be helpful. I only really know context of how to do this within a university. So I'm going to be asking for questions after each section just to make it more easy on us, okay? So the first one is, why did I do this project? And I'm going to use this Seinfeld clip to explain why. Oh, wait, there's no sound?
Oh, wait. Let's see. Try now.
Try now? All right.
Keep playing.
Excuse me,
Oh, wait.
Or is it on my end, probably?
Try now.
I couldn't help but notice that.
Oh.
It used to work. I don't know what's going on with it.
Maybe it's on my side.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right. I'm just going to play it out of my speakers super loud.
Turn on subs.
Um,
And turn on subs.
Oh, I can turn on subs on.
Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice that you were looking in my direction.
Oh, yes, I was. You just ordered the same exact lunch as me.
My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents.
All right, I just clipped that out. My name is Adam. I'm unemployed, and I wish I was living with my parents right now. I'm gonna be honest, so I could live in this expensive city. Why can I hold up? Okay, yeah. So I did this to upskill myself. I was laid off in July. I'm just to be honest. So in my last 2 years of unemployment, I worked at this company called Genentech, and I was working within creating AI models for clinical studies. While I was there, I was working on mainly computer vision models. So I was kind of out of the LLM hype, to be honest. People would talk about it. I just like remembered, okay, transformer, but bigger. Like let's move on. But then after getting laid off and seeing that there's a bunch of new opportunities within employment of using LLMs, I kind of became converted on some things, especially things like tool calling, not cooling. One of the things I noticed personally is that there's now a less of a barrier to enter into machine learning and AI work, which is thankfully a change because it's now following after current academics, like undergrad academics. Anyway, so I just wanted to build something for myself. And I knew a lot of ex-coworkers that were using LangChain, for example, which this app is built on. So because of that, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I wanted to do. Let me just see what's a personal project I could do. And I ran into RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And at a high level, it's a way of replacing the high cost of fine-tuning LLMs, which I don't know how much OpenAI is charging to fine-tune one of their ChatGPTs, but probably millions of dollars, right? And honestly, because I'm a noob, I honestly am. Like I did this last night, this presentation. I was stuck on YouTube in multiple videos just trying to figure out how this stuff works. So this is the necessary background knowledge of this stuff. I'm going to skip, no questions for that one. That's the first section, there's no need for questions. But so what I want to talk about for necessary background knowledge is embedding. So that's why I asked, does anyone recognize that image? That's another survey of mine. Raise your hand. You can raise a little bit higher. You don't have to be shy. So this is the famous transformer network. This was a paper that was published in 2017. It was called Attention's All You Need. So this is what changed the game in AI. So I wanted to break this into a couple of subsections because I was a little bit annoyed and flustered last night trying to figure out that there's multiple versions of embeddings. And what I'm going to be first talking about is initial word embeddings. Then second will be text embeddings. Text embeddings are things like we see in OpenAI, like if they have embedding models. That's what I'm really talking about. And then and how, like, what is the math of actually how it finds the connections of the embeddings to, you know, in terms of like finding meanings of relationships within different embeddings. And there'll be more examples later on. So what are embeddings? So embeddings are numerical representations of real-world objects that machine learning and AI systems use to determine, used to understand complex knowledge domains like humans do. So because of a lot of these things, we can now encode text, images, music, and videos. And those embeddings encode its meaning in relation to other embeddings that are close to it. So there are two benefits. The first benefit is that just through encoding, data dimensionality of these things are lessened. So therefore you could save, I just kind of think like zipping a file. You know, like if you zip into a file, right, the overall size of whatever you zip is a lot less than what it would be eventually unzipped to. And then also, these embeddings are useful because they can find relationships, which I'm guessing people that know about embeddings already know that. And I just wanted to show what encoding is in terms of machine learning. So this is called an autoencoder. You can see that has images of numbers, and it tries to reconstruct the input image at the end of the model. So here, these are the hidden layers. And this is this is technically encoding the information that was before it. And then after this is the decoder, where it tries to generate the image that it was first, that was inputted with. I just wanted to bring that up just in terms of machine learning. That's how encoded, that's what it means to be encoded. Okay, so word embeddings. So all neural networks are simply a long sequence of linear algebra matrix operations. So we need our input words or prompts to be numbers, or more accurately, vectors. We do this by tokenization and then using available vector representation techniques like word2vec or GloVe on these tokens. The techniques spoken above are themselves machine learning techniques and are how the word embeddings relationships are found automatically through training. However, they fail to pick up context with the surrounding tokens. So before I talk about the next step, I'm sure you guys have seen some things like this, right? So in terms of finding meaning, I like this one. So here it says man and women. And what you could do in terms of just regular old vector subtraction or addition, you could find the distance of this. And then you could assume, if you know the distance between man and women, if you know where Keen was, and if you add the difference of this, that you would eventually get to Queen. So when you train these models, they automatically find those relationships for us. And in terms of this image of the transformer network, it's this, the input embedding, or technically both of these. And this image will also be used for text embeddings as well. So I just wanted to give a quick note about tokens as well. So big note, this is an example of tokenization by words only, but in reality, it is way more complex to make it more efficient. So we all know that ChatGPT has multiple languages it can work with, right? But let's say if you were just to get all the words of the English language and you just token it by word, that means we'll have 1,000 or 100,700, whatever, the first number. But ChatGPT has close to 200,000 tokens, but it can handle multiple languages. That's the magic of it. I'm going to go on to the next one. I'm going to come back to this if there's any interest. I think I could do this after the talk, if you guys want to ask me about this. But this is the way that, this is one of the techniques that are used for these parts of the models. Okay, so text embeddings. So what we talked about before was just words, but now text is that we want to get whole documents and be able to embed them to also find the same relationships that embeddings could find, but within huge amount of documents or text, music, whatever, videos. So this is what OpenAI actually offers, are these text embedding models. So the one that I used on my project was text embedding 3, which was the small model, which is, I think was released last year. And after figuring out what it actually was last night, I just remember I read their original paper, and it actually just turns out to be the output of this. The encoder itself is the text embedding model. And that was what changed the game for me last night. Then it finally clicked in my head. Because at the end of this, it gets you a vector or an array of a fixed size. So it's an array of 1,536 integers or floating numbers. And that is static between all videos, books, whatever you just want to feed into it. I don't think I have to read anything. I think that gives it a good summary. And I just wanted to show these images as well. So the first image you see at the top right is, I actually just took a screenshot of that from the paper. So you can see it says encoder. It literally is the encoder, the 2017 transformer model. And yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate that's also another image at the bottom right. You know, it takes in images, documents, and audio, and then it finds a way to mathematically put that into mathematical space and find relationships within different inputs. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the math real quick. The way that the vectors are, the way you find if two vectors are similar is something called cosine similarity. And basically, it's a metric between -1 to 1. So 1 means that they're similar to each other. So Adam likes tacos and Adam likes tamales. So like, that's pretty similar, okay? 1. -1 is that they're opposite. Adam likes tacos, Adam hates tamales, right? Because love and hate is an inverse relationship. And 0, it means they're orthogonal vectors, so they have technically no relation at all. So Adam likes tacos and Mike plays football. That's just a random thing I thought of last night. And you can see, I think it's just helpful to see. If you remember cosine, right, it's like a wave. It goes from -1 to 1. And it just basically tries to find the angle between these to see how similar or not they are. And that was also in the paper. They just referenced that as well. Okay, that was a lot. Any questions on that?
I think we're all stumped on the math. Okay. We can continue on. Cool.
Linear algebra went back to bite me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Proceed.
Okay, cool. So now I'm actually going to talk about RAG. Okay, so retrieval augmented generation. RAG is a technique for enhancing the accuracy and reliability of Gen AI models with facts fetched from external sources. One of the issues of LLMs is that they are so large and expensive to fine-tune. So fine-tuning is historically when you want to use a pre-trained model on a new relative task. Or in terms of LLMs, it could be customizing a chat or base LLM for your needs. Whether this is most likely in a business setting, right? A great discovery of LLMs chat models is that they are generally perform well to user requests via prompts, which can include user information. And RAG takes advantage of this. And this image just kind of shows the workflow of it. So we have available documents that we could find information between the user's prompt via embeddings with embeddings of documents. An example of that would be, like I did in my project, was I gave it my transcript from school, and you could ask it, you know, what did Adam get for linear algebra, for example? And then I got a B, actually. It will tell you that I would get a B. So it embeds that and tries to find similarity, then to give that back via text. So these are the use cases of that. I just gave you one. Search engines. Google's already using this, right? So I don't know. I'm a little iffy on it. Sometimes I get annoyed that it's on Google, but if you see what Google gives back to you, right? They usually reference documents like other websites that they get information from. That's an implementation of RAG. Question answering systems, my app is technically that. And then RAG for personalized recommendations. So in terms of, I don't know, X business need, I like that, like if you're a bank and if you have a chatbot for a bank and you're wondering if you could qualify for a certain loan, the bank already has your metadata and they could use tool calling to call into their backend and give you a reason why you or will not be approved for the loan. So the LLM model can just give you that information back. That's another way I thought it could be used. I'm pretty sure all this is already being used. So these are the main components of the RAG app. So 1, you have to have a corpus of documents. 2 is that you need to use a vector stored database that will store these embeddings for the documents. 3 is have a hard prompt template that takes relevant documents. 4 is inference the model with the prompt. And then 5, this is extra, but it's include chat history because you want it to be more natural conversational-like, which I'll talk more about that later. So storing and receiving the documents. So here I'm going to be talking about vector databases or vector stores. There's this one that I use. It's called Chroma. It's open source and it's free, so anyone can start using it. And they're optimized to retrieve relevant documents by using similarity search or cosine similarity, as I talked before, with embedding of user prompt. So for example, this is one thing. I already brought up this example. So if my question is, what did Adam get in his ML course? It will go through the documents that it has, probably find text from my transcript, and give that back into the LLM for the LLM to answer the question via that document. And this just is a high level of how it works. Usually when you get documents, you learn to break it down by maybe a 200 sections of words, like chunks, and you embed that as its own document per se. And then you could use things like top 5, where you want to get the top 5 relevant documents that could be used to answer your question. And yeah, this is another visualization of it. I like this because it shows you actually breaking it up and storing them. So you can see load kind of just looks like a standard paper. You can see then it transforms into chunks of that. And then you embed that using I use OpenAI's embedding model. And then that stores it into the vector database. So it uses those embeddings as its own index to then get information from the documents that are paired with that. And then you just, for example, this one just only gets the top 1, but that's what it retrieves. And then that is injected into the LLM to answer your question. Okay, so hard prompts. The hard prompt to inject these documents is a way to, well, let me just read it. Before a query or user question is passed into the LLM as input, any relevant documents are passed in directly as text into the prompt. The most simple implementation of this is to use a hard prompt already made. So I literally actually use this, I use another one in my project, but this is the one that LangChain gives out as a template. It's really simple, right? So if you read it for yourself, if you see where it is in brackets, LangChain just has a framework where it gets the user's input question, and then the context is any relevant documents that is given by the vector database. It's literally just injected as text. And then the LLM will, after answer, will just generate text to hopefully answer that question based on that context. And then chat history, this basically just means that you want, when you message a chatbot, you want it to be more realistic in terms of having it be more conversational. So there's now another, I won't talk about the diagram here because it's much more complex, but essentially it also takes in the chat history, what comes before that, and then it uses the previous questions to then kind of rephrase the next question to be able to retrieve documents to then hopefully answer the question. I know that's very complex, but the example I think I've given at the bottom is really good. So if someone says, well, where is Adam from? It says, it says he is from Reedley, California. Did he go to high school there? Right? Just did he go to high school there on its own does not make sense because you're referencing the previous question. So what the LLM does is that it actually uses the chat history to create a new question to rephrase it. So then the rephrased question would be, did Adam go to high school in Reedley, California? Yeah, this basically, I won't go into it so deeply, but here, this is where it rephrases the question, asks to rephrase the question, it goes into the LLM, gives you the rephrased question, gets the documents with the rephrased question, and then does the other thing where it just gets the documents and it gets a previous input query and then just answers the question. That's just the workflow. Okay, any questions on that?
I think we're good. Okay.
Okay. So building an app, all right, that's no more hard stuff, I promise. I know, I'm sorry, I feel kind of bad. I'm really into this stuff. So this is my app, it's called Adam's Personal Chatbot. And really what I wanted it to be is that it could answer any professional, personal questions about me. So I broke it up into different parts here. So I created my own custom hard prompt for it to answer questions about myself. And then I had to write and gather documents for myself. So I gave an example where I got my transcript. I also had to use I opened up Google Docs and just wrote about myself for like a day. Really, just about my life. And then 3 is details of development and deployment, and then just final thoughts about RAG. And then afterwards, I'll give a demonstration. So this is actually the hard prompt. You could read this for yourself. But essentially, I had to basically like in text do like pseudocode essentially if and else statements. Like I wanted it to avoid all questions that were not about me. And to say if it's an inappropriate question, to say that that's an inappropriate question. So yeah, some of the context, again, as before, that just takes in any relevant documents that relates to the question. Cool. So just as before, I just want to talk about the tools I use. So the documents I stored was a resume, my transcript, the README of this app, actually, so I could answer questions about the app, and then 3 text files that I just described before. I just wrote a lot about myself. That actually took the most time to actually do was actually write about myself in doing this app. So the OpenAI models I used, LLM was the newest, cheapest LLM. And then the embedding model is also the newest, cheapest model. So LangChain is this Python LLM framework that allowed me to do this quite easily, but with some cutbacks. ChromaDB was a vector database I use. And then I'm not a front-end guy at all. I just use Python. Streamlit is this front-end library that I could quickly just boot up a front-end UI to deploy this model, or deploy this app. Oops, I think I forgot to do the side. Okay, so app deployment, I just put this on AWS EC2 instance. That's it's like 8 gigs of memory, and then T2 small specifically, the type of EC2 instance. And then I use no-angup Linux command to make sure it's running. And I deployed it to a free domain. So anyone could use it. If you're interested, you could also just take my GitHub repo. So development issues, I just want to be, it's not so dandy. LangChain was not the best thing, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of technical debt. I had to upgrade my EC2 from a free to a paid instance because I think it was like originally 6 gigs of free memory, but then LangChain took 4 gigs of that. so it crashed. So I had to like update it. And the documentation is not great, to be honest. LangChain, the documentation is not great. They have good educational material that allowed me to learn this stuff, but it was super hard to actually get underneath the hood and understand how all these plug and play things were going on. And there's like one thing I wanted to mention. My intention was not to use OpenAI's models. It was originally to use Hugging Face, free open source models. But there was a stupid bug where it would only give you out 100 tokens. So it would just output text and then randomly just stop. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So I would just say LangChain is helpful to get you started, but if you're actually using this in industry, I would say just not use it. Just do it by hand. So final thoughts. And I'll give a demo after this just to show you how it works. I believe that the limitations of RAG is only by the limitations of our LLMs. And I just want to bring it up as AI ethics. In terms of AI ethics, I believe this is something to think about because I think it is more naive that LLMs are entirely free from legal issues like copyright infringement. We all know what's going on right now, right? It is important that we focus on creating more equitable society with AI technology and making sure people are paid their dues with the training data that these models are trained on. RAG can be impacted by potential societal shifts, or so perhaps AI development away from the tons and tons of personal data is essential for the future. So what I meant by that, basically, if there was any changes where, if ChatGPT could not exist, right? That would crush this technology. But so what I hope is that we find a way just to get away from using tons and tons of personal data and then be able to create more of an AGI in the future, away just from tons and tons of text. But RAG itself is magical. It just works. And then I wrote, hopefully in terms of customer service, I always hated chatbots, but maybe they could actually be more useful now. So my app demonstration, it's already deployed now. So if you guys want to use it, you can use that QR code to open it up. And hopefully it does not crash. If it does crash, I can run it locally. This is actually a good test for me. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and open it up here. So Streamlit is a relatively easy UI. I just quickly built this up. So let's see. Yeah.
I'd love for you to answer this before you ask your.
Okay.
What's your perfect day look like?
What's my perfect day look like?
Yeah.
Oh, then you're gonna ask it? Yeah. I actually don't know what it would give back. I did not write that specifically.
But you described your hobbies in your professional life, so I imagine it could.
I had to write more.
This is
to be honest.
This is a good test.
What's my perfect day? I wake up, I meditate, I drink coffee, get tasks done for the day, and then play soccer.
Can you put that in there? What is your perfect day? Let's actually test that.
Perfect day look like?
And if you can bump the text, I don't know, so we can all see.
Soccer.
Okay, soccer, hiking, we see.
Nothing about coffee though.
Playing soccer, hiking, visiting.
What is Adam's date of birth and social security number?
Please, no. I intentionally did not input that information.
It would be creepy if it knew. I'm going to be playing with this later. So we can all stalk Adam after the talk. Do you have a question, Ezekiel?
What kind of hardware are you running this on?
What kind of hardware?
What kind of hardware? Like, do you need a GPU? Do you need a certain?
Oh,
EC2
no.
instance?
It's all using OpenAI's API.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using an EC2. It's just an EC2 instance.
But that's just to handle the requests between OpenAI.
Well, no, it's basically EC2 is just like a computer.
I know.
Oh, my bad.
I'm saying
I guess
you're
I'm.
using EC2 to manage the requests between OpenAI doing the LLM work and the front end making the requests.
It's all running on the EC2.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm sorry if I didn't answer
Is
the question
OpenAI
correctly.
so is quick question, is OpenAI integration with this application a external integration, or is there something OpenAI gives you that you can run locally or at least provisioned on the AC2 instance?
It's an external integration.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like like he was mentioning Hugging Face as being an open source model that could be an alternative. I see. Okay.
Yes, that's true.
See, we'll have to sidebar on this later. I want to get a little bit more detail. Thanks though, that's awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't capture that into the mic, so. But yeah, okay.
I have one more thing to share.
Go
I
ahead.
think it's fun to share.
Go ahead.
So over Thanksgiving, I got this done, and I was visiting my grandparents, and then my mom was like showing them the app. They obviously don't know English. So then they were typing things in Spanish, and surprisingly, it worked. It actually works. It tells you where I'm from in Spanish. Yeah, I did not input any. I did not write anything about me in Spanish.
That's because OpenAI understands how to interpret it.
Yes.
We have a question here.
Well, sure. If you want to make a comment, yeah.
So the vector database is like the algorithm that converts the text to the vector.
Right.
It's sort of the vector then becomes like the glossary of where it references. Sorry. So like what happens here is that OpenAI's vector algorithm that turns text into vectors will turn English text into similar vectors as Spanish ones. So
Yeah, yeah.
Therefore, when it looks it up, it sort of it looks up the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's how like two images, like you can actually. I actually contradicted myself because earlier I said like when you vectorize it, it has to be by the algorithm. Technically, there's like a lot of overlap, so you could vectorize it in one and run it in the other, and it may give you similar results. It just won't be like 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So that's the end. That's the overall story. Embeddings are powerful because they find relationships. Not bounded by language is an example of that.
Okay.
And just to expand on that from your presentation, it mentioned that the ChatGPT's English database was 170,000 tokens, but the updated one is 200,000 to expand beyond. Or English was 170,000 tokens, whereas ChatGPT 4a was 200,000. The extra 30,000 is because the grammar rules for other languages don't take the entirety of all information that hydrogen is lighter than oxygen, that type of thing. That's all in the database. So expanding to another language is a very, very small percentage of additional tokens and rules needed.
Exactly.
And multimodal, so it's not just language, it's like audio and images also they need to be simulated.
Yep. Yep.
This is blowing my mind. Okay.
I mean, if there's any more questions.
Do we have any more specific questions about the talk? Make your way back over. Cool.
Do you have any tips for doing this sort of stuff, like resources, anything that help you?
Oh, like
kinda
specifically with this stuff, like this app, like Rad?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I
good
mean,
for
I use
experience.
LangChain. Like LangChain has awesome educational content, honestly. But what the downsides I brought up earlier. It's actually like if you, it's on my GitHub repo actually. If you guys want to just copy the repo and build it yourself, I welcome
Also,
it.
quick reminder, we can all bug him after and pick his brain.
Yeah.
Which I will personally be doing.
So do you know how many tokens your sort of hard prompt is?
Good question. No, I don't. Maybe that's a question we can figure out later.
I'm curious because you said it was like a bug bug on Hugging Face that it only gave you 100 tokens back, but like
Okay.
actually, the bigger your input prompt, the less tokens there are for outputting, and that provides like a very big limitation here. So I'm wondering if you think that this is like how extensible is RAG, since you're sort of like you're feeding in a ton of information and it's gonna end up costing, it's gonna be a lot of processing power.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like there is an additional expense to training a model, but at that point you do not have to like feed in with every prompt like all of your data. So like your sample data is very small, but if you're an organization and you want like all of your HR benefits or like that kind of thing in there, is this a realistic solution, or do you think?
No, I do. I mean, when I talk about the error, I remember like just looking at looking at Google for the error. It was not necessarily anything to do with Hugging Face. It was just literally the integration of Hugging Face for LangChain. But like the use case that you brought up, that's a good example for RAG personally. Because if you don't have a lot of data, like say if you're a small, I mean, there's a bunch of small startups already using that are AI startups, right? A lot of them are just using this, right? But obviously it comes, I can't tell you what the negative sides of that are. I'm sure there are, but it depends on how much capital you have to train them, right? Oh, there you go.
Specific reason for picking Chroma at DV?
Because LangChain said it would be good. Plus it was free. And I wanted to limit the amount of money I spent on this. Yes, it's honestly very easy to use. I had 0 issues with it. Cool.
Well, I think that we should probably wrap it up. If there's any more questions for Adam, we can probably take that off on the side. But I want to thank Adam for the awesome talk and the material today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to just give a quick round of applause for the awesome speakers today. One more time. Personally, I was not expecting the level of quality in these talks for the first event for the 2025 after the Christmas break, holiday breaks. So yeah, I'm really surprised by the level of quality, and I'm super grateful, super thankful for you guys. So thanks again. We did run over a little bit on time, so usually we do have a little bit of a short segment where we let the community get a chance to make some of their own announcements on stage. Since we are short on time, we'll keep this brief and perhaps just make one announcement personally here for Edge. Some of you software developers are probably looking for work. Edge is actually hiring a senior software engineer position. So if you guys are interested in that role or looking for work, please come to me or hop on our Discord, and I'll be posting the announcement there as well. So, but nonetheless, I think we're going to probably close this up so that way we all can connect and chat and make our own announcements in person. But one more thing, for those of you who are new, we have an awesome growing community. From 2024, we've grown from 0 to where we're at now, and we continue to do so, hopefully for the rest of 2025. You can check us out at DEVx.network, our website for the community, where you can find our Discord, which you can join. I highly recommend it. Tons of awesome people on there constantly talking and posting, and great way to reconnect after the event. Also, if you're interested in submitting a talk, feel free to go on there and the website, and there's a link or a button where you can submit your talk proposal. We accept all skill levels. Although the event today has set a high bar, don't be afraid. we love people who are just sharing their experience if they're a junior all the way up to like a senior. So we're really open about that. So feel free to if you have something that's itching that you want to get out and talk about, it's a great way to set yourself up for success in the industry and your growth. So highly recommend that. Also, like I recommended earlier, follow us on Luma, where you can see our schedule for the rest of the year and make it to the next ones. Final note, we are completely a community-driven organization, if you will. None of us are paid to do this, so we have little links here if you're wanting to contribute to donations so we can keep this going and keep this fostering such a great community. So we really highly appreciate that. And with that said, I want to thank you guys all for your attention, your time, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. But feel free to hang out till we have the venue till 4. Feel free to mingle and introduce yourself and talk to the speakers. They did such an awesome job, and I wanted to say thanks again for you all coming out. And yeah, we appreciate you coming and look forward to meeting you each individually. So thanks again.